laser.
This next-gen demo is presented by State Farm.
I am happy to be joined by Mark Rubin, executive producer at Infinity Ward for Call of Duty Ghosts. Let's just start with, how hard was that decision to go from, well, probably the most powerful, brand out there, which is Modern Warfare, and move over to something new?
I think it was more of a stressful decision for everyone outside of the studio than maybe the business side.
Yes, that I can fully appreciate.
Yeah, so actually when we sat down after Modern Warfare 3 and we had everybody around and we were all doing our sort of, we do this kind of brainstorming session where everybody in the studio puts up cards with ideas. And just put up a card, doesn't matter what it is. I want to do a top-down isometric alien smashing thing. And that's the game I want to make, and so you put that up there. Any kind of idea, a weird situation, everybody gets to put that up, and we go through it all. And we really kind of come up with then, cull it down, and sort of shape the game that we want to make out of that. Now, with the previous title, with Modern Warfare 3, we had a story that we were following. So there were some limitations there. And in this one, we were like, okay, what if we don't have to do a Modern Warfare from a story standpoint and a world standpoint? Could we do a Modern Warfare 4 that just was a new story arc? And we really decided that we couldn't. We wanted to do a new world where that world had a material effect on the player and the other characters that you're with. So,
and with that point,
yeah.
How about we start actually looking at all of this
changed
happening?
World.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a wonderful segue that we got right there.
Yeah.
Where is this level set?
So this one is set in San Diego. And again, when I mentioned that the world has a material effect on the player, basically earlier in the game, you and your brother, who you're with here, actually experience the mass event that causes this from a first-person perspective before you're soldiers, before you're really in this kind of gameplay. And so now what we do is, this is actually the 10 years later, and you and your brother are in that area, that part of San Diego, Southern California, where you grew up, seeing your world 10 years after a mass destruction.
I was about to say, I mean, there must have been some fun in the art direction there to kind of take something that would be very familiar to many American players in these locales and sort of watching it come apart.
Yeah, actually we ran into a problem, which was in the beginning we made it so sort of surreal and esoterically destroyed that we didn't really, you couldn't tell it was San Diego. We had people not going, where am I? I don't understand where I am. So we actually had to add in little bits and pieces to make sure you knew that was San Diego or that was America, so that was actually kind of a fun part of it. But
so, okay, we're seeing the dog.
Yes.
I'm blanking on the name of it. What is the name of the dog?
Riley.
Riley, that's
Riley,
correct.
Yeah.
So, what is the role inside of the game? I mean, this thing became sort of an overnight, internet meme, but
yeah.
Does he change the gameplay and the experience?
I think he does, and when we started, we put up, like I said, a card. We put up a card that said, AI dog in your squad. And that was it. That was all this card said. And we were like, okay, we can put a dog in the squad and he'll run around and shoot people's heads off and all that kind of stuff, things that dogs do. Then we actually brought a Navy SEAL in with his dog to the studio with all his gear, and he told us how they're trained, how they, how they work in combat situations. He explained all that gear that you just saw on him, and told us how they're used. And we were just floored by it on several levels. But what you're going to see here basically is the dog's wearing a vest that has a pop-up camera, and that camera can be viewed through a screen that the soldiers carry. And then the dog's also wearing an earpiece that he can talk to the dog and tell him to do things from a distance. And then
now we understand how this opens up a lot of possibilities in the gameplay.
Right, exactly.
I mean, in Ghosts, I mean, look, Call of Duty is such a dominant franchise. It really helped define this generation. As a result, it kind of gets a lot of criticism, because of its size. And are you guys looking to try to change up what the gameplay is like? I mean, it's tough. If you go too far in one direction, you're going to disappoint your very loyal and large fan base. But there is also pressure to show something new. Where can we go with this?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, someone told me an analogy once. Someone outside of the studio said, I'm a basketball fan. If they changed the rules of basketball every year, I'd be pretty pissed off and wouldn't be a fan.
Yeah.
So I think for us, we want to be able to create new and fresh environments and new situations. We're talking single player primarily right now, not really delving into multiplayer right now, but single player situations. But you can't change that dynamic, that cinematic immersive quality that Call of Duty brings. Those moments, those kind of big, people now call a Call of Duty moment. You know? We don't want to get rid of those. But you know, on this game though, what we did do is, first off, the whole situation of you being the underdog and not being the superpower anymore does give us some cool new sort of gameplay mechanics to play with. Along with that, we're paying more attention to pacing this time, I think. You know, I think I was on the tail end of COD 2. And COD 2, when we looked at it afterwards, we said, oh, okay, we were always at 11. Like every level's like 11, 11, 11, 11 across the board. And so with COD 4, we actually went and tried to pace it better. We tried to give it 11s, and we tried to give it some quieter ones, some of 3s and stuff, you know, and not have everything just so, you know, summer blockbuster in your face.
Right, you can better appreciate the big moments when you've had quieter moments that precede it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly what you mean.
So I feel like in Modern Warfare 2, we kind of went back to 11, 11, 11 across the board, and I think we did the same with Modern Warfare 3 a bit, but with this game, and if you can tell, we're not showing the typical Call of Duty at E3. We're showing a lot of stealth. We're showing a lot of the lower points of what Call of Duty can be, and so I'm hoping that really comes across when you play the full game.
Well, one thing that definitely does come across is the fact that the fidelity of the art is very, very evident. Yeah. Are there other things that the new consoles are allowing you guys to do that aren't as immediately apparent, that aren't visual?
Well, yeah, so there is, obviously the boxes have more power.
Right.
But we've, as a studio, I don't think we've ever been held back by technology when it comes to gameplay. But what we have been held back, obviously, is in visual fidelity, but there's other things. We put in a completely new audio engine. So if you're an audio fanatic, the new engine for COD Ghosts is pretty phenomenal. It's based on an ADSR system, which is, what it does is it actually uses a 3D model of the world to determine how audio is going to reverb off surfaces. So a lot of games, and we did this in the past, is you have sort of an outside noise and you have an inside noise, because outside and inside are different, right? You know, the reverb changes.
There's carpet, there's what?
Yeah. So, but you just had those kind of two sounds, and they were sort of pre-programmed, kind of hard-coded in. Now we're actually modeling the environment. So if you're outside, you know, you get the long tail on weapon sounds. If you're inside, you get the short snaps. But if you're in a bigger building, still inside, it's in between there, because it's actually modeling the size of the area, volume of air that you're in, and calculating out what the reverb and what the sound should be like. It also takes into effect material. So if I'm next to a wooden wall or a cement wall, that's different from a metal wall. So it really kind of models audio-wise, and we could never do that on current gen with the amount of CPU power that we were having.
Well, Call of Duty Ghosts, does it have a set release date?
11.5 on the consoles
on our legacy gen, I believe, yes.
Yes.
Legacy gen.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll probably be chatting a few more times, hopefully about multiplayer as we get closer to that date, but thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man.
All right.